Got a new bed going down. This one's a little smaller than the other ones. About 3 feet wide. I gotta kind of get a little over 30 feet long. On the older beds, those things were probably about 5-6 feet wide. It's a real pain to keep that thing weeded. So I'm hoping a 3-foot bed is gonna be a lot less maintenance. You still get the same kind of benefits of having it protected from the grass and mulched over, and it's gonna still look real nice and linear to keep the wife happy. So we'll show you what we're gonna plan in here. You might wonder one of the ways I get rid of the weeds when I'm preparing the beds. I dig out what I can, and the rest send it back to hell. What I'm gonna do today is show you how I plant trees in our clay soil. Here I have a good couple of top inches, probably about 4 good inches of soil, and then it's clay, and the drainage is horrible. So if you dig down deep and you plant at grade, you'll get root rot because water's just sitting there. There's a lot of gnats, I don't know if you can see them flying around. But get root rot, kill your trees, especially if you put like an avocado, they'll go quick because of their clay. And we'll show you what it looks like. First of all, what we'll be planting today is a strawberry tree, also known as a Jamaican cherry. This is why they call it a strawberry tree, because the flower is very similar looking to a strawberry flower. Produces these little green, they'll turn red, which is one about ready. One right there, it's almost ready. Tastes kind of like cotton candy. It's really sweet. They're great. I mean, they're not going to feed you, but they're fun. Tastes good. Start with the hoe. This stuff is pretty loose already because I was digging around with the grape hoe. Don't have to really do a lot. So if you can see, it's kind of a square hole. It's a little extra if you want extra credit. It's a little bit more than 4 inches deep. You can't probably tell on the camera, but right here at that 5 inch mark, you're starting to get into some clay. And it is clay. I mean, we could make pots, mugs with this stuff. The top stuff is pretty decent. So this 4 or 5 inches is gonna be about half the pot. Probably didn't even have to go that deep, but it's gonna help our drainage a lot. Another thing you can do, make sure this is not smooth, because that's gonna hold water. So we'll whack it a couple times with a shovel to put some grooves in there. That way they got some water to channel out. Roots will kind of go to the edges, they'll find cracks, they'll find corners, and they'll start radiating outwards versus just circling the round hole. If you want to go the extra step and do the whole fertilizer thing, at this point we can add some to the bottom of the hole. Whatever's left, add it to the spoil. We'll mix that up, we'll put it around the plant. So we'll work this pot out. Give it all its stuff it came with. See, it's kind of flat. So if you look at this pot, the roots haven't even gotten out here yet. So the roots haven't penetrated this outer layer. They haven't been circling the pot. So it's not root bound. That's pretty good. We can roughen this up, kind of take away some of that pot. We're exposing some roots right here. It'll be all right. See, it's a couple inches proud of the hole. And then I'll bring this stuff in. Every once in a while I find some of this chicken feed. So that guy will go to the chickens. They'll be happy to see him. So don't be afraid to step on this root ball. Get that pushed down. Not putting all my weight on it. Just want to make sure there's not going to be a bunch of air pockets or hollow voids. We want this thing to be a nice solid planting. So I don't know if you can see, but it's curved because it's a couple inches proud of grade. So if this is where you wanted to stop, you didn't have anything else you wanted to add, this will be fine, but it's not where I stop. At this point, if you noticed, I didn't amend the hole, I didn't add any compost, I didn't add anything. What happens sometimes is you amend the hole, and when water percolates through the top part, it sits inside this bowl and it never leaves. The little particles of dirt and soil, when you amend it, it changes, and something happens from the transfer of water as it percolates through the soil that it just stops or it slows down significantly. This was actually in a UC Davis study years ago where they were talking about amending soils, and their finding was don't amend the hole. Plant it in the native soil and top dress. So that's what I do, except for that little bit of fertilizer that I threw in there. Next, I'm going to add the top dressing, which is a compost. I don't know where you're at, but this Happy Grow stuff from Lowe's, like $3.50 a bag. It's 2 cubic feet. It's decent compost. I consider it's between compost and mulch, but it works great. That'll be this top dress layer. So I'm using about half a bag. I'm gonna get it back down to that level part of the original pot. So this is the original surface of the pot. So it's kind of looking like a little volcano, I guess. But it's basically it's a raised bed. It's a couple of inch raised bed at this point. I'll pack it down. At this point, you can top dress more, a little bit of fertilizer, and then I'll mulch it. Might put some newspaper on the perimeter just to keep those weeds from coming up here. The best newspaper mulch you can get always have pictures of terrorists on it. That scares away the weeds, scares away grubs. Gotta have someone scary. Maybe someone we haven't bombed yet. Definitely, that'll scare away all the grubs. You won't have any grub problems if you use this. So this is pretty much my procedure. Remember, men, the doctor would like to see you. Don't avoid the doctor. Might be able to avoid him a little longer if you're eating out of the garden, working outside, getting your exercise, seeing the fresh air. That'll help keep you away from the doctor. I scored all these newspapers from my wife. They drop them off at her high school she works at, and tell them to go pick up all the leftovers. And then I use it, recycle it instead of going in the trash. I'm going to cover this with mulch and it'll be done. So that's pretty much how I plant pretty much all my trees, pretty much anything I put in the ground. This is the method that I use. It may not be perfect, it might not be the right method everywhere, but if you have a little bit of good topsoil and then you hit that little pan of clay and you need to deal with drainage and you have plants to be sensitive, you worry about that, this has worked terrifically for me. I'll water this plant later, and then most of these trees I kind of neglect. I water them every once in a while. Every once in a while I flood irrigate. That's about it. I try not to take too much care for the plants. If they die, they die. I'll find something that wants to live that I'm not going to have to babysit. As for the mulch, I get this stuff for free. We have the tree companies. I stock them. I see them nearby. Gnats. See them, I jump down, talk to them, ask them if they can dump it. My house, I live in the middle of nowhere, so it's probably usually the closest place if no one else is asking for me. They drop it off, I give them 10 bucks, 20 bucks. For each truck is about 8 cubic yards. So they'll drop 2, 3, 4 of them off, and I'll try to give them like 10 bucks a load. A lot cheaper than buying this. It cost me a couple bucks just to drive to a garden center if I was gonna buy a couple of bags of this stuff. So use the resources you had available that you can get a hold of. Treat these tree guys nice. Plant some trees.